Welcome back, Knicks fans. Knicks won their first game against the Boston Celtics, and one of the reasons why was because of that man, Julius Randle. He set the tone to this game and set the pace. And in the first half, he basically carried our man. Carried the team. Also, Mitchell Robinson played, and that's one of the reasons why he's so valuable to our team as well. It's not just his ability to finish at the rim, but also his defensive presence was great. But Julius Randle was just on fire. He was unconscious in the first quarter, actually in the first half, just couldn't miss. And he did whatever he wanted. He actually also he operated a lot out of that, out of the high post near the free throw line, and he was able to find a lot of shooters when he got double teamed from there. And when they didn't double on him, he just abused the Celtics, whoever was on him. And so he had a great game, especially in the first half. And the other thing that actually I noticed about this game that was really good was I was talking about how the Knicks really need to improve their offensive efficiency, and Julius Randle was basically one person who had to do that as well, and he had to do that by attacking the rim. So not just Julius did that, but also Evan Fournier did that, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we got players like Evan Fournier and also Kemba Walker. These are basically players that basically can make plays on the offensive end for themselves and also for their teammates. They can just dribble, take it to the hole, and it was just great to see. There's Julius again attacking the rim. This was an and one. And so if you look here to the right, the shot chart, the Knicks essentially they went 30 of 42. They went 30 of 42 from basically at the rim. They got 42 shots close to the rim essentially and made 30 of them. Shot 71%. The league average right now is 56%. That's a little low. That's going to basically go up. The league average normally is like more like around low 60s. And so, but either way, the team shot 71% from within the line. The other thing too was like if you look, they shot 42. They took 42 shots. They went 30 of 42. 42 shots near the rim. That was something that I really wanted to see, and that was what's going to help us become a more offensively potent team. We eliminated, it seemed like we started eliminating a lot of long range twos. Julius Randle still did take quite a bit of them. A lot of these long range twos here, these were all Julius Randle, and he needs to eliminate it. Some of the three pointers over here was Julius. Some of the ones on this side, on the left hand side, was uh, some of them was Evan Fournier as well. However, some of these long twos, I guess, you got to take shots you're comfortable with, but I think Julius should minimize some of it. But if you look here, most of our shots came from basically close to the rim, and the second highest group of shots came from outside the 3 point line. And so it's good. This is what the Knicks needed to do to become a better team. And so they were doing that. Just to talk more about the game in general, it was great having Mitchell Robinson out there, especially on the defensive end. He really helped the defense pick it up. In the first quarter, we struggled with the defense, but as the game got on, we started performing much better on the defensive end. One of the reasons our defense is so good because we just have Mitchell Robinson back there to anchor us down and also to clean up a lot of mess. As this game got along, as it went along, especially in the first quarter, we struggled on the defensive end. But one thing that I noticed was Mitchell Robinson then started doing a better job trying to help out and shadow ball handlers more. I noticed that there was a lot of people, like when they drove to the lane or got near Mitchell Robinson, they spent a lot of time just paying attention to Mitchell Robinson instead of basically either, trying to do a good job, basically, um, uh, instead of trying to do a good job executing the play. And so Mitchell Robinson just wreaks a lot of havoc at so many levels. Here is just one where it's Jason Tatum drove to the basket and Mitchell Robinson was just there to just block a shot and just get rid of it. And so he just does so much to help us out on the defensive end. And we're able to get basically a layup out of it on the other end, started a fast break. On this play here, Marcus Smart basically drives to the basket. Mitchell Robinson comes over to help out and just gets rid of it. And that's the reason why, as this game goes along, it's like they're always looking for him. So even if he doesn't block the shot, most of the time Mitchell Robinson affects the play because he makes the ball handler change their mind, change up what they want to do. So instead of trying to execute the play, they're busy looking at Mitchell Robinson. So if you're busy looking at Mitchell Robinson, you're not going to be able to make the shot. You're not going to be able to focus and find an open man either. And so he's just so valuable on the defensive end. Mitch also helps out a lot on the glass. It's I mean he's a great offensive rebounder. It's very difficult to keep him off the glass. But also, aside from playing great defense, he actually does a really good job boxing out. He every time the other team shoots, if there's a man near him, Mitchell Robinson always makes sure he gets a body on that man. And see, in this one, even for the offensive guy, he just always makes sure he boxes out and gives his team initial possession or closes out the defensive possession by getting the rebound. And they just couldn't do anything with him. Boston was just switching so much that, that by the time the Knicks ended up taking a shot, you got you have like somebody small guarding Mitchell Robinson. And then also it just doesn't work from Boston because Boston plays extremely small. They play they play a small ball lineup. And so it just, essentially it works in the favor of for the Knicks and Mitchell Robinson because it just, he's just it's like he's just going to get all the rebounds. He has 17 rebounds tonight, and they just couldn't do anything with him. He was extremely valuable, not just on the defensive end, but also on the glass. The other reason we play so well on the defensive end today, you got to give it up to R.J. Barrett. He really impressed me today with his defense of Jason Tatum. As you see in this game, R.J. Barrett, he starts out with the simple stuff. He always makes sure he's in a good defensive position, and he made sure Jason Tatum wasn't getting any open baskets, open looks at the rim. And if he did, he always tried to make sure he closed out on Jason Tatum. Yeah, Jason Tatum did have an off shooting night, and so that was part of the problem. However, I think a lot of it was also R.J. Barrett making him work. Yeah, as you see here, Jason Tatum, he just wasn't hitting a lot. Even when Kemba ran out at him, he was able to miss. But on this one here, R.J. Barrett just made him work for everything. And so that just really helped. R.J. Barrett did a great job on the defensive end. If you look at Jason Tatum's shot chart, oh my goodness, he just had a miserable night. I think he shot something like 7 of 30 or something like that. So it was just a terrible night for him. He was able to find his touch later in the game. I know he had a huge 3-pointer to help us out. To help them send the game into overtime. However, it was, R.J. Barrett just overall did a good job. That right there, that sequence right there was the worst defensive sequence R.J. Barrett played the whole night. That was the worst he did. But overall, R.J. was extremely solid. I would say Evan Fournier was probably the biggest reason why we won this game, especially on the offensive end. He was just awesome. This is the reason why we got him. Like I said earlier, just his ability to go off the bounce and make his own shots and even make shots for other teammates. He was very aggressive. Like I said earlier on, he just could not miss from three, especially late in the fourth quarter and in the overtime. He can go drive, go baseline, muscle his man. This was against the Celtics' best defensive player. This number 44 kid. He was able to essentially slow Julius Randle down in the fourth quarter, and Evan Fournier just ate him up, right? And so Evan Fournier is a great pickup by the New York Knicks, and he's just basically he played a great game, and looking at his career stats. This is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a guy who's gonna be able to create his own shots, go to the rim. He's gonna take a lot of pressure off of Julius because late in this game, Julius Randle, especially like in the second half, his efficiency went way down, and Fournier just took over. Julius Randle was smart enough to basically run a pick and roll with them and just hand the ball off to Evan Fournier. He did it repeatedly throughout this game. And look here, with the game on the line, 9 seconds to go, the fact that he was aware enough to know, just get the layup and make it a 4-point game. Then in overtime, you know, Celtics got hot, and Evan Fournier was like, you know what, I can get hot too. And they ran pick and roll with him and Julius. It was just like, you know, it wasn't really a pick and roll. It was just kind of like a handoff, and he'll go right behind Julius and just take the shot. But it was just like it was a really good teamwork by both of them, and that's basically how he was able to like just save this game for the Knicks. For a second there, they kind of reminded me of the '90s Knicks when we would basically essentially it was like the '90s Knicks where we would fumble away the game with like 20 seconds to go. I mean, 20 seconds to go, this game was well in hand, and but somehow we were able to fumble it away. I mean, we were up by 4 points. I think by 4 points with like 7 seconds to go or something like that, or 9 seconds to go. And somehow the Celtics were able to come back and win this ball and tie the ball game up and go take it to overtime. But if it wasn't for Evan Fournier, thankfully we had him, and he just was able to basically take over the scoring load in the second half. I mean the overtime to just help put this away. Julius Randle did get an and one when he took it to the basket in the second overtime to kind of help. I think he helped give us a lead. He helped, it kind of took the lead and extended it a little bit with a 3 point play. And then, but overall, Evan Fournier was the one who really basically put this game away for us. Obi Toppin was also very impactful in this game. He was very active. I mean, he really helps pick up our pace. I mean, every time we get a turnover or we get a rebound, he just runs right. And so this one here, he was able to finish on a fast break. He was able to get an N one, and also he was good on the defensive end. But it's really good that everyone is starting to look for him. Every time they get the ball, Derrick Rose, the first thing he does is like, "Where's Obi at?" And that's really good. Because he's very fast. He plays with a lot of speed, and it's just like they just took advantage of it. And his ability to finish close to the rim. Like I said, one of the biggest things like I knew the Knicks had to work on was efficiency at the rim. And in order to do that, they had to give Obi Toppin more minutes. They had to give Julius Randle more shots at the basket, and Mitchell Robinson give him more lob plays. But Obi, I mean, he's just like he just creates quite a bit of problem. And so, as you see there, Derrick Rose found him on the lob, and so he played a great game. Very good defense, active on the offensive end, and that was I think that was it wasn't an and one. I thought that was an and one, but he played some really crucial minutes. The coach did end up taking him out late in overtime because we started struggling with rebounding, and of course the coach brought Mitch in, and that really did help a lot. And also it helped to secure the defense a lot more. Mitch is a better defender than Obi is. No ways around that. But Obi did play pretty well on the defensive end and gave us a lot also on the offensive end. Kemba played a good game, overall. He didn't shoot that great, but he played pretty well. I mean, he's a lethal shooter from downrange, and so you can't leave him wide open. And he made the Celtics pay a few times because of that. He didn't shoot great, like I said, but he just had a really good. He did a really good job. He shot 3 of 4 from the 3 point line, but where he really struggled was obviously within the paint. When you look at this heat map here, everything he made was from the 3 point range, but he essentially struggled making baskets at the rim because he's a very small guy, and also it's clear that he doesn't have the same burst that he used to have when he was younger. He was never a great finisher at the rim, but he definitely doesn't have the burst anymore to kind of help him power through, and also to give him the speed that he needs. He's still extremely shifty and very valuable, and this here. Looking at this 3 point shot here, this is one of the reasons why he's going to be really valuable to us because just the problems that he created because of his ability to shoot and also his ability to break down the defense too and attack the rim. He just, it'll be good if they can find a way to work on this finishing, maybe to have him like try maybe floaters a little more. But I thought he played a really good game. He did what he was supposed to do. He actually helped us spread the floor very well. And so you can't ask for much more than that. Derrick Rose also had a very solid game for us. I mean, there's, he's a better finisher at the basket that Kemba is, as you can see there. I mean, he's a bigger guard. He's bigger than Kemba is, stronger than Kemba is, and so he's able to finish at the basket. And also, he also has a good 3 point shot. Not as great as Kemba's 3 point shot, but he has a very good 3 point shot. Towards the end of the game, he helped seal the game by driving to the basket and making a nice floater off the glass. So that's basically what helped seal the game today. Kemba Walker wasn't able to finish in overtime, obviously because of you have to be concerned about his minutes. Kemba played 35 minutes, and so in the overtime they brought in Derrick Rose to basically finish things out in the second overtime. And Derrick Rose got 22 minutes a game. I mean, which I really like. I kind of feel like we don't want both of these guys to basically. I really don't think they should get more than 25 minutes a game each of them. I think they should really find a way to minimize it. But however, quickly would have to basically really pick it up and do much better on the offensive end. He's really struggling right now at the point guard position. However, if he can kind of get his footing back, things will be much better. Quickly actually he's played really well on the defensive end. Quickly, I really like what I see from him on the defensive end. But right now he's a little off balance on the offensive end, and his shot is just not falling. And then he's taken the 30 footers, and that's a shot he makes it in practice. So I guess that's why they let him take it. However, it was a bit of a struggle for Quickly today, and so hopefully that gets better for him later. Jericho Sims got some time. He got about 7 minutes, a little less than 7 minutes today. His defensive rating was just really bad. Um, his defensive effort, even when you watch the game, let alone stats, you could just tell like he just either I don't know if he's just not if he just he just gets lost out there. Sometimes I just feel like he's also not putting in enough effort, but I think it's mostly him getting lost and being in the wrong place. And so he barely got 7 minutes. He was actually he basically came into the game before Obi did, but the coach really realized really quickly that just Sims wasn't going to cut it, and so that's why the Knicks actually went with the small ball five with Obi at the five and Julius at the four. And actually, it went really well. It actually worked well. And so it looks like the Knicks are probably going to do that a lot more often this season. So that was pretty much the game, guys. Please like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this highlight and analysis. Comment below. I'll be more than happy to respond. Thank you so much. Have a good night.